Hello everyone, welcome to Global Online. In this lecture, we are going to see NTA UGC Net Paper 1, and in this lecture, we are going to discuss 50 plus most expected MCQ on communication unit. So in this lecture, I have covered all the topic related to the communication unit. So do watch this lecture to clear all your doubt about the same, and you will receive my lecture every day at 7 am. So do visit our channel every day at 7 in the morning and do watch my lecture to score more marks in the upcoming exam. So before we move forward, there is one announcement. The students who are preparing for UGC NET 2022 exam, we the Global Online is offering 2000 plus MCQ quick revision PDF. Students, there is very less time remaining for your exam, and this is a guaranteed PDF in which we are providing you current affair question with the detailed explanation plus PYQs with a detailed explanation, most expected MCQ and most repeated MCQ, which is really important for your upcoming exam. This PDF will help you to revise all the topic in detail. To get the PDF, please contact on given number. Do WhatsApp message here, okay? And the PDF is available just for rupees 599. So do message here and get the PDF and start your preparation. Non-verbal communication is mostly, so here in this question they ask you about a non-verbal communication, for which the first option is mechanical, second one is organic, third one is unconstructed, and the last one is construct. The process where the people exchange the thought and the idea with each other verbally and non-verbally is described as the communication. Okay, and as we said, there are two types of communication, that is a verbal and a non-verbal communication. So here the verbal means the use of words in the communication process and in the design and the formulation of the messages, and therefore it is a structure. Okay, so here the verbal communication is a structured. It includes a face-to-face conversation, speech, telephonic conversation, video, radio, television, and a voice over the internet. In the written communication, the written signs and the symbols, both in the printed or a handwritten, from the to be used. Okay, the picture graphs are used for a complement and a written test. Now, when we talk about a non-verbal communication, the messages are transmitted without a word, and it is all about the body language, how we are going to use our body language, that's come under the non-verbal communication. Okay, and it does not make a use of the word. The communication such as a body gesture, eye contact, body language, posture, tone of voice, and a facial expression, all this called a non-verbal communication. Now, as we said, the verbal communication is called a structured communication. Opposite to that, the non-verbal communication is called a unstructured communication, okay, or a non-structured communication. So here the correct answer for this question is option number 3, that is unstructured. According to communication research findings, some amount of gossip is necessary for. So here in this question, they ask you, according to communication research finding, some amount of gossip is necessary for what? For which the first option is pro-social motivation, second one is prevention of distortion, third one is extending communication range, and the last one is relocation of emotional affiliation. So here the communication is two types, that is formal and informal. Okay, there is a formal communication and there is a informal communication. Okay, so the formal communication are those that goes through the established channel inside the organization, and the informal communication refer to the type of a communication that travel freely through the organization and flow into the in all the direction. The four different stages under the informal communication are single straight network, then is a probability network, cluster network, and a gossip network. Now here the gossip has been touched a low cost but effective information gathering method, that it has been mostly been shown to the successful way to encourage and preserve cooperation. Okay. So here the correct answer for this question is option number 1, that is pro-social motivation. What is the AIDA marketing communication stand for? So here in this question they ask you the full form of AIDA, for which the first option is attraction, information, development, application. Second one is attention, information, dialogue, action. Fourth one is attention, interest, desire and action. And the last one is attitude, inspiration, desire, action. Okay. So AIDA is developed in year 1898 and the full form for the same is attention, interest, desire and action. Okay, the AIDA model was widely used in the marketing and advertising. It is a use in marketing and in advertising to describe the step or stages that occur from the very first moment a consumer aware of the product or a brand to the usual moment of purchase is made. So here the correct answer for this question is option number 3, that is AIDA stand for attention, interest, desire, action. Identify the technical term used to describe body language from the following. So here they given you 4 options and they told you to identify the technical term which are used to describe the body language. Okay, for which the first option is proxemics, second one is chronemics, third one is kinesics and the last one is haptic. The term communication is derived from the Latin communis, means to share, and it is an activity of conveying the information through the exchange of a thought, message or the information through the speech, visual signals, writing or the behavior. The communication is broadly classified into verbal and non-verbal. So here the verbal where we can use the oral language and the non-verbal means where we can use the body language or different symbols. Okay. Now here the non-verbal also include the appearance, the facial expression, the body language and the kinesics. Okay. So here the correct answer for this question is option number 3. What of the following is considered as an effective form of verbal communication? So here in this question they ask you given which of the following is considered as an effective form of verbal communication, for which the first option is storytelling, second one is sloganeering, third one is use of high pitch of voice and the last one is monologues. So here the communication is derived from the Latin word that is a communicare, which means to share. The communication is passing the information or telling the idea from one person to another. Communication consists of 3 things: encoding, transfer and decoding. And there are 2 persons, one is a sender and one is a receiver. Okay, a sender decode the message, the channel transfer to it receiver, and the receiver decode the message. The communication is a 2 type based on the communication channel. There is a verbal communication and a non-verbal communication. So here the storytelling means the option 1 is considered as an effective form of verbal communication. Which of the following is the characteristic of interpersonal communication? So here in this question they ask you given which of the following is considered as the characteristic of interpersonal communication, for which the first option is it is both focused and unfocused, second one is it is not participation friendly, third one is it is philosophical and the last one is it is metaphorical. Okay, so as we said, the communication is a two-way process. in which participants not only exchange the idea and the information but also share the mutual understanding, and it has to take into the consideration the idea of mutuality and commonness, the exchange, the shared environment, the social relationship among the participants, and the existence of a common needs, urge, aim, and a goal. The interpersonal communication, it is a direct, participatory, or a face-to-face communication between the two people. And it is a personal, intimate, and allow to maximum interaction. The exchange in the word and a gesture, it requires certain skill to interact effectively with others, such as a knowledge of social norms, willingness to listen, and respect for the another person. For example, talking to your friend or a family, teacher, or the student interaction. Okay, whenever we are talking to our teacher, there should be a respect, right? We are giving respect to our teacher. So that is coming under the interpersonal communication. Okay. So here the interpersonal communication is both focused and unfocused. So option 1 is the correct here. Which of the following exclusive example of non-verbal clues that include the pitch, rate, volume, and the use of pauses? So here in this question they ask you, given which is an exclusive example of non-verbal clues that include the pitch, rate, volume, and the use of pauses, for which the first option is linear model of communication, second one is interactional model, third one is non-verbal clues, and the last one is paralanguage. Okay, so the non-verbal communication is a transmission of a message or a signals through the non-verbal platform such as the eye contact, where we are not using the language or where we are not using any words. So here the paralanguage can be defined as a broad range of vocal characteristic that help in variety of expression and reflect back on the speaker attitude. It is a highly non-verbal in the nature and depend on the vocal aspect like a voice, pitch, pause, or a volume. Okay, so all these things are coming under the paralanguage. The different aspect of a paralanguage are as a the facial expression is coming under the paralanguage. Then is the eye contact is there, expressive movement is there, silence is there, notation is there, pitch is there. All these things are coming under the paralanguage. Okay, so here the correct answer for this question will be option number 4. Okay, that is a paralanguage. Diagonal communication is, so here in this question they ask you about the diagonal communication, for which the first option here is latent, second one is aggressive, third one is cross functional, and the last one is non functional. Okay, the pattern of communication are called flow, and they are commonly classified according to the direction of interaction. Okay, that is a downward, upward, horizontal, diagonal, and external. Okay, so the term diagonal communication refer to the multi-directional communication. It refer to the multi-directional communication that include the horizontal, upward, and downward approaches. It is a cross-functional communication between the personnel at the various level of the organization. Diagonal communication is a type of a communication that combines vertical and horizontal elements. So here the correct answer for this question is option number 3. Diagonal communication is cross-functional. Chatting on WhatsApp is an example of. So here in this question they ask you about chatting on WhatsApp is an example of, for which the first option is synchronism communication, second one is asynchronism communication, third one is non-verbal communication, and last one is friendly communication. The simple sense, whenever you have a participate in the conference call or any other calls or a video conference, is a synchronized communication. A synchronized communication is a occur when the two or more parties communicate in a real time. The term used to describe the communication between the two or more people that occur at the same time. Okay, it is distinguished by the presence of all the communicated in the communication process at the same time, through not necessary in the same place. Okay, the example of a synchronized electronic communication are a telephone conversation, that is the WhatsApp conversation is included here. The software such as a Telegram is also included here. WeChat is also included in this. Okay, so the answer here for this question will be option number 1, that is synchronized communication. Which of the following group as the component of paralanguage communication? So here in this question they ask you, in given which of the following group as the component of paralanguage communication, for which the first option is voice, emphasis and impression, second one is social space, voice and impression, third one is voice, social space and expression, and the last one is emphasis, social space and voice. So communication is defined as a process of passing the information and understanding from the one person to the another. Okay, so here the communication is divided into the two types, that is a verbal and a non-verbal communication, and 8 different types of non-verbal communication is there. That is a social space is there, then is time is there, physical characteristics are there, body movement is there, touch is there, paralanguage is there, artifact is there, and environment is there. Okay, voice, emphasis and impression is the correct answer for this question. Communication goes between. So here in this question they ask you about the communication goes between, for which the first option is sender and receiver, second one is computer and mobile, third one is teacher and student, and the last one is animal and bird. Communication is defined as a exchange of our thoughts, our ideas, then the motions with the someone or other, either to satisfy our physical, emotional or other needs, or to get the work done. It is obvious that the communication is a integral part of one's life. In fact, the society cannot survive in the absence of the communication. So here we say the communication goes between sender and a receiver. Communication begins usually with. So here in this question they ask you, communication begins usually with what? For which the first option is confused idea, second one is semantic noise, third one is apprehension, and last one is picture in the mind. So the beginning of the communication occur when the sender express an emotion or a feeling, create an idea or a sense, the need to communicate. The communication process is triggered when the sender make a conscious or a unconscious decision to share the message with the another, or we can say to the receiver. Okay, the communication process refer to the series of action or a step taken in order to successfully communicate. It involves several components such as a sender of the communication, the actual message is being sent, the encoding of the message, the receiver, and a decoding of the message. Now here the encoding is a refer to the process of taking an idea or a mental image, associating that image with the word, and then speaking those words in order to convey the message. So if I want to explain to my any friend the direction to a new apartment or anywhere, I will picture in my mind the landscape, the street, the buildings, and then I will select the best word that describe the route so my friend will understand it. Okay. So the answer here is option number 4, that is picture in mind. A good relation between teacher and a student are necessary. So here in this question they ask you about the relationship between the teacher and the student. Why it is necessary to have a good relationship with the students. Okay, for which the first option is to simplify learning, second one is to attract the student for tuition, third one is to make a classroom environment harmonious, and the last one is to maintain the discipline. So here a teacher, a one who is teaching in the classroom, play a crucial or a important role in the life of student, right? In shaping the mind of the children and in turn the quality of the education. A teacher are expected to demonstrate the understanding of the subject matter, establish a positive relationship with the student, create the effective learning environment to ensure enriching the experiment. So here we can say that to make a classroom environment harmonious, we can consider it is a most appropriate option here. Okay, so good relation between the teacher and the student are necessary to make a classroom environment harmonious. In his relationship with the child, a teacher should friendly and dignified. A student-friendly classroom environment and its overall management can build a harmonious relationship between the teacher and the student at the different stages of the education. So the answer here for this question will be option number 3. Good relation between the teacher and the student are necessary to make a classroom environment harmonious. A teacher should develop a cordial relationship with the student because. So here in this question they ask you a teacher, the one who is teaching in the classroom, should develop a cordial relationship with the student because, for which the first option is teacher should focus on the salary of students' parents. Second one is teacher should understand a child, his social and economic background. Third one is teacher should know about the strength and the weakness of the child, and the last one is teacher should know the academic achievement of the child. To achieve the educational objective, there should be a healthy and a cordial relationship between the teacher and the student. There should be a good relationship, or we can say the friendly relationship. That every teacher should have a love and a affection towards his or her student. A caring nature of a teacher motivates a learner to do some of productive work and show the continuous remarkable performance in the class. Okay, so here the teacher should know about the strength and the weakness of the child is a most appropriate answer here. This is the most appropriate because it is important for a teacher to know about the strength and the weakness of the child so that the teacher can plan accordingly. If supposing I know your strength and the weakness in which subject or in which topic you are weak, that means I will focus on that topic and I will try to clear that topic to you. Okay, so I will plan accordingly and establish the cordial relationship with you. Okay, so second one here is the teacher should know the academic achievement of the child. This is the second appropriate option we can see. A teacher must aware of their student achievement and maintaining a healthy relationship with them. Then is a teacher should understand a child, his social and the economic background. This is the least considerable option here. The strength and the weakness of the child is the more important. Okay, after knowing it, the teacher should know about the social and the economic background of the children. A teacher should focus on the salary of student parent. This is a inappropriate option because any teacher, the one who is teaching in the classroom, should not even think about the salary of the parent, which is not considerable here. Okay, so here the first and most appropriate answer we can consider is option number 3. Teacher should know about the strength and the weakness of the child. Which of the following is a powerful determinant for effective assertive communication, whether written or a spoken? So here in this question they given you the 4 options and they ask you given which of the following is a powerful determinant. For what? For effective assertive communication, whether the written or a spoken. For which the first option is they messages, second one is we messages, third one is you messages, and the last one is I messages. So here the style of communication, the way in which the every individual interact and exchange the idea is unique. The way I am interacting with you is different and you are interacting with your parents will be different. That is obvious, right? That means that every person is having a unique style. The important communication styles are assertive. The second one here is aggressive. The third one is passive. And the last one is passive aggressive. So here they are talking about effective assertive communication. So the assertive communication means expressing your point of view in a way that is a clear and direct. Whatever I want to tell you, that should be a clear and should be a direct while still respecting others. Communicating in an assertive manner can help you to minimize the conflict and control the anger. The most effective and the healthiest form of communication is an assertive style. It is how we naturally express ourselves when our self-esteem is intact, giving us the confidence and communicate without the games and manipulation. It focuses on the individual rather than the group. Okay, the characteristic of an assertive behavior include expressing your feelings, needs, idea, and the right in a way that don't violate the right of others. The assertive behavior is usually honest, direct, expressive, and self-enhancing. Okay, when we are being assertive, we work hard to create the manual satisfying solution. Okay. So here in effective assertive communication, we are talking about the individual. We are talking about the I. Okay, that means the correct answer here is option number 4, that is I messages. The competence of effective communicator can be judged on the basis of, please understand the question first. Please read the question carefully and then try to answer. Okay, so in this question they ask you the competence of effective communicator, which can be judged on the basis of which of the following. For which the first option is personality of communication, second one is experience in the field, third one is interactivity with the target audience, and the last one is meeting the need of target audience. So effective communication is the mechanism to ultimately impact the audience and establish the healthy relationship. It is done through the wide array of networking channel for a professional and a personal use to build a relationship that require understanding. The effective communication simply means the opposite person should understand your message clearly. Some requirement of making the effective communications are understand and needs and a requirement. The one should understand the context and target the audience first. So understanding is a basic need here. Okay. Second one is listening. The concern of other must be taken care and the address and ensure the smooth communication flow. Listening will make to understand the clear when we pay the attention to the other's viewpoint and respond as per the situation. Okay, whenever we are trying to communicate, whenever we are trying to give a lecture to the other person, we have to take their viewpoint also. Okay, so for example, whenever I am asking you the question at the end of the lecture, you are responding to that question, you are giving your answer, right? And believe me, I am reading your each and every comment. Okay, And the last one is knowing the audience. Knowing the audience is again important here. Effective communication depends on the mutual understanding, which is fostered through the understanding between the speaker and the audience. By assessing the background or a target audience, our messages can be refined and in the accordance with the intellectual ability of the audience. So here the correct answer is meeting the need of target audience. Which of the following will influence the effectiveness of a communication in the classroom instruction in a critical way? So here they given you the 4 options and they ask you which of the following will influence the effectiveness of the communication where in the classroom instruction in a critical way. For which the first option is teaching aid used by a teacher while making presentation. Second one is teaching style preferred by the teacher while transacting. Third one is academic intelligence and personality characteristic of the teacher. And the last one is subject knowledge of the teacher. So the communication is a integral part of any teaching learning process. Integral part of teaching learning process. And it is effectiveness is one of the factor that determine the degree to which the intended learning outcome are achieved. The process of a classroom communication is affected by the multiple factor pretending to be a teacher-student message, instructional method and a media, and also the learning environment. What type of environment is that in the classroom is again the important here. The effective communication in the classroom make a learning easy and help the student to achieve their goal. The classroom communication is a teacher-centered approach based on the teaching by telling and learning by listening principle. Okay. The role of a teacher is to paramount in planning classroom communication. Thus, she should study her student properly and devise a strategy that will suitable for the student for a diverse background. The teaching style in which the teacher is well equipped with the complete knowledge about the subject being taught should be adopted here. So here the correct answer is option number 2. Teaching style preferred by the teacher while transacting. Which one of the following make a communication ineffective? So here in this question they ask you, given which make the communication ineffective. Please read the question carefully first. Okay. Here we are talking about the ineffectiveness. Okay. And not the effective. So for this question the first option here is ambiguity. Second one is brevity. Third one is clarity. And the last one is sincerity. Okay. So ineffective communication is a breakdown or a failure of communication process. Failure of communication process. Ineffective communication might result from any disturbance or a breakdown in the process. The factors affecting the effective communications are a communication status, cultural differences, clarity of the message, choice of communication is there. Then is a channel length of the communication is there, use of language is there, disability is there. Then is receive individual perception is there, atmosphere or a noise is there, and lack of a feedback is also there. So the example is a so here the example is a language. If you are a sender, talk in a language that the receiver does not comprehend and communication will be a fail. So here the correct answer for this question is option number 1, that is ambiguity, which is not required for the effective communication. So here in this question they given you the 4 options and they ask you given which is not required for the effective communication, for which the first option is appropriate gesture, second one is speech modulation, third one is charming personality, and the last one is good knowledge of the content. Effective communication is the process of sending the message in such a way that message received is as close in the meaning as possible of the message intended. The effective communication is defined as a communication between the two or more persons in which the intended message is properly encoded, delivered through an appropriate channel, received and properly decoded and understood by the recipient. The main motive behind a communication is that the opposite person or a receiver should understand the message clearly. Okay. Communication is said to be effective when all these party, that is a receiver and a sender in the communication, assign the similar meaning to the message and listen carefully to what all have been said and make a sender feel the heard and understood. So here the appropriate gesture, there is a speech modulation and good knowledge of the content are all the required for the effective communication. But charming personality is not required here for the effective communication. That means the correct answer here is option number 3. Effective communication in teaching does not require. So here in this question they ask you effective communication in the teaching does not required, for which the first option is voice modulation, second one is handsome appearance, third one is appropriate gesture and the last one is students involvement. So here the effective teaching include the teacher behavior, the teacher knowledge regarding the subject matter, the teacher belief, the teacher dedication towards improving her student. All these things are required in the effective communication. So the voice modulation is a part of the effective communication, then is a appropriate gesture is a part of the effective communication, and student involvement, of course it is required, because whenever we are trying to communicate with the student, yes, there should be an involvement of the student. Only from that we can understand how much student is understanding. Okay, so it is required. But the handsome appearance or a handsome personality, is it required for the effective communication? No, right? That means the correct answer for this question will become option number 2, that is handsome appearance. Inattentiveness of receiver may affect. So here in this question they ask you inattentiveness of the receiver may affect what? For which the first option is sender, second one is message, third one is media and the last one is effectiveness of communication. So inattentiveness of a receiver may affect the effectiveness of the communication. The receiver may become the inattentive while receiving the message, especially when the message contains a new idea. Sometimes the external or internal distraction may cause the inattentiveness, right? So also when the receiver have received the message, particularly his mind may get busy framing a reply to get it, okay, and guessing what might be said, thus the missing out on what is being said. So the inattentiveness of the receiver, if the receiver is not attentive whenever I'm passing my message, that means it will automatically create the effect on the effectiveness of the communication. So the correct answer here is option number 4, that is inattentiveness of the receiver may affect the effectiveness of communication. The message for an effective communication should be. So here in this question they ask you the message for an effective communication, for which the first option is content rich, second one is context specific, third one is treatment oriented and the last one is all of the above. So here the message for an effective communication should be a content rich, there is a context specific and a treatment oriented. Okay. So when we are talking about a content rich, the effective message include a clear purpose. Okay, why we are sending the message. Okay, that should be a clear. Then is a context specific. Written or a verbal communication will only be effective when the message are completed. The business message that tell only the part of a story are apt to be a confused recipient and fail to engage them as a intended. So the message should be complete. And last one is a treatment oriented. Regardless of whether the business communication is a mean for the venture capitalist or a security panel, the people only pay attention to what interests them. The most effective message are a short, engaging and a point. Okay, to the point. So the most people won't find every message interesting. So the message should be to the point and not lengthy. Okay. So here the correct answer for this question will be option number 4, that is all of the above. Content rich should be there, context specific should be there and treatment oriented should be included here. Which of the following is not the principle of effective communication? So here in this question they are asking you which is not the principle of effective communication. Please read the question carefully, understand the question and then answer the question. Okay. So the first option here is persuasive and convincing dialogue. Second one is participation of the audience. Third one is one-way transfer of information and the last one is strategic use of grapevine. Okay, so the principle of effective communications are the principle of clarity should be there, principle of brevity should be there, okay, the principle of simplicity should be there, the principle of timeliness is there, the principle of campus is there. Okay, so all these things are included in the principles of the communication. The strategic use of a grapevine is included, the participation of audience is included, then is a convincing dialogue is also included in the effective communication, but the one-way transfer of information is not included here. We consider the communication is a two-way process, right? So here the one-way transfer of information is not a principle of effective communication. Which of the following is an example of physical barrier to communication? So here in this question they ask you given which is an example of physical barrier to the communication, for which the first option is cultural disparity, second one is inattention, third one is verbalism and the last one is ill health. Okay, so communication barrier prevent one from receiving and comprehending the message sent to the another to convey the idea, thought and other types of information. This various communication barrier obstruct and interface with the message that someone is attempting to send. There is a numerous to a effective communication that can be arise, and this occur because of the sender message may not be understood exactly as intended. Okay, so when we are talking about a physical barrier to the communication, it includes the linguistic barrier is there, then the psychological barrier is there, emotional barrier is there, physical barrier is there, cultural barrier is there, organizational structure barrier is there, attitude barrier is there, then is a technological barrier is there, social religious barrier is there. All these things are barriers to the communication. So here the physical barrier are the most visible intimation to effective communication. This include a noise, closed door, there is a faulty communication equipment, closed cabin. Okay, in a large office the physical separation between the employee and the faculty equipment can create the significant barrier to the effective communication. If the receiver, the one who is receiving the message is having a problem of hearing the message or is ill or a speaker has a speech disability, then it is included into the physical barrier. That means the correct answer for this question will be option number 4. In communication, the major barrier to the reception of the message is. So here in this question they ask you, in a communication process, the major barrier to the reception of the message is. So for this question, the first option is attitude of the listener, second one is knowledge of listener, third one is education of listener, and the last one is income of listener. So the attitude of the listener will be the correct answer here. These are the behavior or a perception that prevent the people from communicating effectively. attitudinal barrier to the communication may result from the personality conflict, poor management, resistance to the change, or a lack of motivation. The research showed that we generally only listen with a 25% of efficiency. This means that about 3/4 of a spoken communication is lost by the average person. Instead of giving the speaker our full attention, we may be formulating a reply or making the judgment about what they are saying. The attitude of the listener is also affected by the knowledge, income, education, or any other factor. Hence, it is said that the communication, a major barrier to the reception of a message, is the attitude of the listener. So here we can say the correct answer for this question is option number 1, that is attitude of the barrier. Which one of the following is the strategy to overcome communication barrier? So here in this question given which is the strategy to overcome the communication barrier, for which the first option is setting of ground rule, second one is aggression, third one is advanced technology provision, and the last one is use of jargon. Okay. So communication barrier is anything that prevents us from receiving and understanding the message. Okay. Setting the ground rule is a articulate setup of expected behavior of the communication between the people. Ground rules, sometimes called a ground agreement, are a least term that the participant agree to follow and facilitator agree uphold during the conversation. So the correct answer here for this question will be option number 1, that is setting of ground rules. Which one of the following is not a physical barrier to the communication? So here in this question, they ask you given which is not a physical barrier to the communication, for which the first option is noise, second one is verbalism, third one is ill health, and the last one is invisibility. So the physical barrier is a environmental or a natural condition. They act as a barrier in the communication in sending the message from the sender to the receiver. The noise and the overload of information or overburden of the information, distance, time, invisibility, ill health, all these are an example of the physical barrier. When the messages are sent by the sender, the physical barriers like a door, wall, distance do not let the communication become the effective, and the barrier are less if the proximity of the sender and the receiver is high and fewer technological are required. So according to the explanation, the correct answer for this question will become option number B, or option number 2, that is verbalism is not a physical barrier to the communication. When communication meet the aims and the objective of classroom teaching, it becomes, so here in this question they ask you when the communication meet the aims and the objective of classroom teaching, it become, for which the first option is extraordinary, second one is personal, third one is functional, and the last one is obligatory. The main objective of teaching is to bring the change in knowledge, attitude, and skills of learner. These three things belong to the cognitive domain, affective domain, and a psychomotor domain in the Bloom taxonomy respectively. Okay, the communication play an important role in the development of this three thing domain in the integral part of teaching learning process. A teaching is the social activity which involves both teacher and a learner, and it is therefore important that two-way communication exists between them in order to trigger the learning. Okay, the effective communication help to develop the value education, improve the social and the cultural aspect and the moral qualities. Communication help the teacher to understand the child psychology. Understand child psychology. Good communication develop the cooperation skill among the student. So here the correct answer for this question will be option number 3, that is functional. The emergence of consumers who can control and even create a media for their own and to producer who can easily track the consumer's response is made possible by, for which the first option here is television, second option is radio, third option is internet and the last option is telephone. So here a digital marketing by a emergence of the internet. The digital marketing is a component of the marketing that uses the internet and online based digital technologies such as a desktop computer, then is a mobile phone is there, and other digital media. Digital marketing extend to a non-internet channel and provide a digital media such as a television and a mobile phone, callback and on-hold mobile ringtone. Okay, hence the emergence of the consumer who can control and even create a media of their own and producers who can easily track the consumer response is made possible through the internet. So here the correct answer will be option number 3, that is internet. What is the most common problem faced in the school that constitute act of indiscipline? So here in this question they given you some problem and they ask you given which is the most common problem which is the face in the school that constitute the act of indiscipline, for which the first option here is good communication skill. Do you feel the good communication skill is the problem? No, it is not problem. Having a good communication will help the teacher to provide his message better to the student. Okay, the student will easily understand the message. So having a good communication skill is the most important thing. Okay, second one is misbehavior, third one is not paying attention to the teaching, and the last one is the late coming to the school. So here all these three options we can consider the problem which is a face in the school. Okay, now which one is the most appropriate that we have to recognize here. So the most appropriate option for this question will be, it is the most common and a major problem faced by the teacher in the school which constitute the act of a indiscipline, that is a misbehavior, doing the things in a wrong or a improper manner. In a wrong or improper manner. Okay, so the indiscipline, the answer for this question will be the misbehavior. So here the option 2 will be the correct answer. A teacher tells his student, when you learn this, you will be able to carry out your project. What does this communication suggest? So here in this question, they given you the one sentence, that is a teacher tells his student, when you learn this, you will be able to carry out the project. So here this is a sentence. And they're asking you what this communication suggests. Okay, for which the first option is continued interest, second one is ambiguous advice, third one is potential threat, and the last one is positive reinforcement. Okay, so the communication in the classroom is important to create a learning environment for the student in the classroom. Classroom communication exists in the three categories, that is a verbal, then there is a non-verbal and Written. Written is also coming under the verbal communication. Okay. So the verbal communication refer to the sending or receiving the message through the sound and the languages. The teacher can address the one student or the whole classroom through the verbal communication. Okay. And non-verbal communication refer to using the different symbols, okay, facial expression, body language. And the written communication is a sending or receiving information through the writing. Okay. The communication that is used in the question is an example of the verbal communication where the teacher is addressing the whole class with the words. And there are various purposes of the communication in the classroom teaching learning process. Here in given question, the statement that teacher said is an ambiguous advice. The ambiguous means something that is not clear. Okay. Something that is not clear. Or the statement can have a more than one interpretation in the classroom. So the correct answer for this question will be option number 2, ambiguous advice. The concept of entropy as used in the communication is related to. So here in this question they ask you about the concept of entropy, for which the first option is virtual reality, second one is marketplace, third one is order, and the last one is communicative language. So entropy in the communication was originally created by Shannon as a part of his theory in the communication, in which the data communication system is composed of a three element, that is a source of data, the second component is communication channel, and the last one is the receiver. Okay. So in Shannon theory, the fundamental problem of a communication as expressed by Shannon is for the receiver to be able to identify what data was generated by a source based on the signals it received through the channel. The Shannon considered the various ways to encode, compress and transmit the message from data source and prove in his famous source of coding theorem, that is entropy represent an absolute mathematical limit on how well the data from the source can be lossily compressed into the perfectly noiseless channel. Okay, so entropy refers to the message which convey the highly unpredictable information to the receiver. So here the correct answer will be option number 3. The concept of entropy as a use in the communication is related to order. The earliest modern means of communication system is. So here in this question they ask you about the earliest modern means of communication system, for which the first option here is post and telegraph, second one is press and print media, third one is telephone and internet, and the last one is satellite. So the communication is referred to the exchange of idea. What we are doing exactly in the communication? We are exchanging our idea. So the exchange of ideas, then thought, knowledge. All these things are included here. Okay. The post and the telegraph are considered as the earliest means of a communication system. The introduction of a postal system boosted the communication system by sending the letters, parcel at a minimum cost and a postcard. The telegraph system was developed by Samuel Morse in 1837, and through the telegraph system coded signals were sent by away, and it was known as Morse code. Okay. The letter and the telegraph were the means of a communication till the advent of telephone and the internet. So here the correct answer is option number 1, that is post and telegraph. physical path along which data transmission occurs. So here in this question they ask you about the physical path along which a data transmission occurs, for which the first option here is encoder, second one is decoder, third one is channel, and the last one is bandwidth. Okay. So the transmission of a path is also referred to the transmission channel. Please understand the meaning and then try to answer. Okay. Please clear the concept in your mind. So the transmission path is also known as a transmission channel, the path between two nodes of a network that a data communication follow. The term can refer to the physical cabling that connected the nodes on the network, the signals that is a communicate over the pathway or a sub-channel in the carrier frequency. Now who is the encoder? Encoder is the sensing device that provides the feedback. A decoder, it is a circuit that changes the code into a set of signals. So it is a circuit that changes a code. Then is a channel. It is a medium used to transport the information from one network device to the another. So it is medium. And why it is a use? It is a use to transport information. And the last one is bandwidth. It describes the maximum data transfer rate of network or a internet connection. Okay. Describe the maximum data. It measures how much a data can be sent over a specific connection in a given amount of the time. So here the correct answer for this question is option number 3. The physical path along with the data transmission occur is a channel. When in a classroom communication, a teacher shows ability of creative correlation and analysis, it belongs to which category of the skill? So here in this question they ask you, when in a classroom communication, while the teacher teaching in the classroom, a teacher shows the ability of creativity correlation and analysis. Okay. Now they are asking you it belong to which of the following category skill. Okay, for which the first option here is thinking skill, second one is expression skills, third one is media utilization skills, and the last one is human skills. A teacher performance is the most crucial or a most important, we can say, input in the field of the education. Okay, the teacher are the responsible for the teaching a particular subject or a portion of prescribed content. The role of a teacher is to keep a student always motivated and help and guide them in the learning. Some quality of a good teacher include the skill of communication, listening, collaboration, adaptability, empathy, and patience. The other characteristic of a effective teaching include the engaging classroom presence, the value of a real-world learning, the exchange of best practices, expression skill, then is a questioning skill, probing skills, then is a media utilization skill. All these things are included in the characteristic of effective teaching. Okay. So when a classroom communication, the teacher show the ability of a creative correlation and analysis, it belongs to the category of a thinking skill. Such a skill set are compromises of a different type of cognition, information processing, inquiry, creative thinking, and reasoning. So here we can say the option 1 is the correct answer. A teacher decides to form 6 groups of the students and assign a sub-theme to the each group for a discussion and reporting. Now which kind of a communication model will best describe his or her strategy in this regard. So here in this question they ask you, the teacher, the one who is teaching in the classroom, she decided to form the sixth group of the student and assign the something to that group for the discussion and reporting. Okay, now they are asking you which kind of the communication model will best describe this strategy in this regard. Okay, for which the first option here is transactional model, second one is interactional model, third one is horizontal model, and the last one is linear model. So the communication is a process of passing the information and understanding from one person to the another. It's a process of imparting the idea and making oneself understood by the other. In the communication process, the sender encode the message and use the medium or a channel to send to the receiver. So here the sender will be there, channel will be there, and a receiver will be there. Receiver is a person who decodes the message, and after processing the information, the receiver sends back the appropriate feedback. Okay. Now here the receiver, what receiver will do? Receiver will send back his feedback. Okay. How he is going to send the feedback? By using the channel. Okay. So here the transactional model is a model of communication where all the persons are engaged in sending and receiving the messages simultaneously. The sender and the receiver each take turn to the send or receive the message. In this model, the communication is a dynamic process. In which there is an interactive relationship between the sender and the receiver, and each person is affecting each other. This model believes that there is a continuous process of feedback in the communication, and this model is mostly used for interpersonal communication. Please remember this. Interpersonal communication or a group discussion. Okay, and it's also called a circular model of communication. Please remember the another name, that is circular model of communication. Okay. So here the correct answer will be option number 1, that is transactional model. A key to effective listening by student in the classroom. So here in this question they ask you a key to the effective listening by the student. Where? In the classroom. Okay, please understand the question first, student, and then try to answer. Okay, for which the first option here is sympathy towards teacher, second one is interest in informal education, third one is empathetic learning, and the last one is desire to memorize. So listening in the classroom, there are two types of listening. There is a active and passive. Active listening, loosely defined, is a paying attention to the speaker and listening to understand and not to respond. It also includes a complete focus on the speaker. Okay. In a school, one example of active listening will be students waiting their turn and considering what their peers have to say before starting their opinion in the classroom discussion. For example, if supposing you have given the reading work to the student in the classroom and you have told the student that one after the another you are going to read the lesson. Okay, so what teacher will do? Teacher will ask one student to start reading, and in between teacher will stop the student and teacher will alternatively take the name of another student and will say, now you start reading. Okay, that is called the active listening. Here what the students are doing, they are actively listening when their number will come. Okay, and when we are talking about a passive listening, however, like a listening while the multitasking. A passive listener might pay the attention to the speaker in the sole intent to respond or place some their attention to the another task. The student who texts during the class interrupt the other classmate to voice their opinion or do homework during the lecture or a story time may be a passive listener. Okay. So here the correct answer for this question is option number 3, that is empathetic learning. A student greets the teacher with good morning. Here the channel of communication is. So here in this question they ask you, a student greet the teacher with the good morning. Okay. So this is a sentence and they ask you, here the channel of communication is. Okay. For which the first option is the effect, second one is the source, third one is the speech, and the last one is the intent. In a nutshell, communication channel, a medium through which can send a message to its intended audience. For example, phone call, text messages, emails, video, radio, social media are all types. All these are the types of the communication channel. The speech has a channel of communication. In the above example, when the student greets the teacher with a good morning, the student is using the speech as a channel of communication. The process of communication include sender, channel, message, then there is a receiver and feedback. Right. In a face-to-face, in a person speaking situation, a channel will be primarily audio using sound and a visual using light waves. Okay, this is an example of a face-to-face communication where both the sender and the receiver are facing each other directly. So the speech itself becomes the channel of communication in this case. Right, a student, the one who is greeting the teacher, will be in front of the teacher. Right. So the student is facing the teacher. So in this case, the speech will become the channel of communication. It is a remote situation tool like a video conferencing can be used to communicate in the speaking situation. So here the correct answer for this question is option number 3, that is the speech. The concept fraction of selection in classroom communication is determined by the expectation of reward related to. So here in this question they ask you about the concept fraction of selection in the classroom communication is determined by expectation of reward is related to, for which the first option is efforts needed, second one is reviews needed, third one is peer pressure needed, and the last one is time lag needed. The concept fraction of selection in the classroom communication is determined by the expectation of reward related to the efforts needed. The formula of a fraction selection as developed by a Wilbur, the godfather of communication studies, in the research in 1954. Okay, at the first stage of a development of uses and rectification theory, a number of a communication theory developed. The fraction of a selection is one of them, and this formula helped to determine which form of mass media an individual will select. Okay, the method of frequency of activity equal to the acceptation of reward divided by efforts required. Frequency of activity equal to the expectation of reward divided by efforts required. The main question is how to do reader decided what to read. In the case of a classroom communication, an individual has to select which offer he or she has needed. So here the correct answer is option number 1, that is efforts needed. Which method is extremely beneficial in terms of personal contact, mutual goodwill and friendship? So here in this question, they given you 4 different methods and they ask you given which method is extremely beneficial in terms of personal contact, mutual goodwill and the friendship. For which the first option given here is official calls, second option is farms and home visits, third option is method and result demonstration and the last option is group discussion. So here the use of extension teaching aid and a methodology is a crucial in a agriculture extension work. They serve as a means for disseminating the innovative to desired group of the farmer. So farm and home visit the most prevalent method of direct communication between agent and a farmer through the farm visit. Farm visit can help the extension of an agent to get to know the farmer and his family in a better way. It helps to increase the agent understanding of the religion and the problem that faced by the farmer. It provides a farmer a specific advice and the information. It aids in keeping in a touch and gradually establishing the connection and the friendship with the farmers. Thus, farm and home visits are extremely beneficial in terms of a personal contact, mutual goodwill and friendships. So because of this, the correct answer for this question will be option number 2. It is preferable to start the classroom communication. So here in this question they given you the 4 options and they ask you which one is preferable to start the communication, classroom communication, for which the first option is listening comments, second one is anecdote, third one is unrelated question and the last one is casual comment. Okay. So the communication skill is the most vital for the interaction with the student because the act of teaching itself required them. In your role, it is responsible for comprehending and breaking down the complex information. Or conveying the information, okay, clearly to the student, presenting in a manner that sustains their attention and listening to and resolving the questions or a problem. It's preferable to start the communication with the anecdote. Generally, the anecdote will relate to the subject matter. This is related to the subject matter that the group of the people is discussing. The anecdote is a belief revealing the account of the individual person or a incident. A story with a point such as communicate with the abstract idea about the person, about the place or a things through the concreted detail of the short narrative or categorized by the specific trick or a threat. So here the correct answer is option number 2.